want to know, have you been praying to the hockey gods here the last week? I know you guys have done your job, but it certainly seems like you've had some pretty fortuitous bounces as they apply to Dallas.
Yeah, you know what? We got some help on the out-of-town scoreboard for sure, but we've been talking about it all year. We take care of our games and how we play, and kind of the results will follow themselves. And I think if we do that, we'll put ourselves in a great spot.
And on that note, Adam, you guys are coming off a great game. It's been a while. I don't think I'd be fair, though, if I said it's been a while since you put together two of those kind of games back to back, and boy, tomorrow night would be the opportune time to do that. Would that be a fair statement to make?
Yeah, I think we've talked about in here where you come out, you have a great game, against great teams, and then you kind of take a deep breath, and there's a bit of a letdown. It's about stringing them together, and we found ways where we haven't maybe gotten off to the best start following those games, but a real critical game for us against one of the best teams in the league, and the Stars. So it's another game that should be easy to get up for. We're excited. It's going to be playoff style. They're a team that's really ramping up near the end too, and we're all fighting for position. So it'll be important we get off to a similar start to last game. I know we didn't get rewarded with any goals in the first period, but that style of play is real conducive to winning.
Adam, there's so many examples this year of you guys, like when it's one of those big kind of marquee games, you guys walk in and you've got your game, you find it. Is there something you think that has allowed your team to take a step forward in when you need to have your best, you guys very usually do?
I think it kind of stems from the belief in this room that when we play as well as we can beat anyone on any night. And I think Arnie's done a real good job of making sure we know the importance of the games, coming in with a good game plan and a lot of trust in our structure. I think against these elite teams that we've been able to beat, we've done a real good job frustrating them, not really giving up a whole lot, and being patient in the game. I think when the Stars beat us earlier this year, it was a close game, and then we start pushing a little bit, and they're a little more patient, and that's the difference. I think you're playing against elite teams. You got to be comfortable in these tight games, comfortable where there might not be a lot generated either side, and then just wait for your opportunity. I think. But to answer your question, I think it stems from the belief in this group, the belief in your line mates, your teammates, going out there and knowing we can get the job done.
Home ice is ruled in your 3 games with Dallas this season. How does the fact that it's on the road factor into your pre-planning for this finale for the season series?
It doesn't really change a whole lot. Obviously, at home we got to dictate the matchups and things like that. But if you want to be an elite team in this league, you want to win and go far. You have to be able to win on the road, and it's a real tough rink to play in. They're a really good team at home. I think, like I said, it's about that patience in the game. Trusting that our structure and our ability, be able to get the job done, not trying to force pucks. And Dallas is a great transition team. And they can really hurt you. Their power play, struck for 3 last night, and it's real evident when they get opportunities, they make the most of them. So, I think it's going into the game knowing that it's going to be a tight contest, knowing that there might not be a lot of space, but just being comfortable in that, and just winning your matchups. Whoever you're out there on the ice against, whoever you line up head to head, that's what we talk about. If each line wins their matchups, we're put in a good spot.
Vibes question. When you're making your forecheck and your line mate is right where he needs to be, you're making your back check, the D's gapping up and everything's tight like that and you're as connected as that. Can you explain what that feels like? Like not every team can do that all the time.
Yeah, there's, I think, a comfort knowing that you can trust that your teammates are going to be in the right spot. It makes the reads easier. It makes kind of the breakouts, it makes the D-zone coverage or the neutral zone pressure, those reads easier. And I think, when you're making those reads, on the first instinct as opposed to kind of guessing where, a teammate's going, you play a lot faster. I think, when the puck's on your stick, you're looking at that first option and you know, if you're just doing those simple, quick, easy reads, you play faster. I think it makes you harder to play against. So, you know, I think that comes down to our coaching staff's done a really good job this year of, you know, drilling in kind of the forecheck, the neutral zone, the D zone, going over that, you know, talking about coverages, or if there was a previous game where there's missed coverages, the communication and things. So everyone's role on the ice are known and the expectations are clear. And, you know, I think it shows in how detailed and how structured we are. And, you know, I think that's one of the strengths of our team and what makes us so difficult to play against.